Brock Purdy is the second quarterback in NFL history in his rookie season to throw 3 touchdown passes in a playoff game. The only other is Dak Prescott. Brock also rushed in a score. So Brock is the first quarterback in his rookie season to account for 4 touchdowns in a playoff game. If Ayuk had caught that crazy pass at the end, then Brock would have been the first rookie quarterback to throw 4 touchdown passes in a playoff game. Not playoff debut, playoff game.
Some say crazy pass, others say dime.
I mean, wild play.
Wild play, but
a little bit from the Seahawks being gassed.
Yeah.
But wild play. And do you want me to show the
yes, please.
Okay. And then there's this one from Grant Cohn. Joe Montana's first playoff start. 20 of 31, 304, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 104.8 rating, 38 points. Brock's first start. 18 of 30. Okay, Joe was 20 of 31. 18 of 30, 332, more yards, 4 touchdowns accounted for, 0 interceptions, 136.6 rating, 41 points.
I wrote this down. My halftime notes was Purdy was below average. Purdy was a roller coaster. And then the final drive, when they got the ball back late in the first half, I said, what will they do? And in the first play, they hit Ayuk. And then from there on out, he was doing all these runaround, crazy Patrick Mahomes plays that did not lead to anything but like, oh my God, Brock, what the fuck are you doing? Right. And a couple times, Moose, who again played with Troy Aikman, was like, he could have just stepped up in the pocket, which we said, what was it going to look like if he got weird? And it's hard to say because even today, he looks calm. His facial expressions look like is he sweating? He has like this Kawhi vibe. No reactions, which I appreciate, but it's hard to he doesn't look scared, but his play was off. Not just 9 of 19, but balls kind of flying around, throwing in windows that probably had no business, was the worst. Did you hear on the broadcast when they said that Kyle said to them that Brock played his worst game last week?
Yeah.
That was his worst half, especially when you factor in the importance of it. It was a roller coaster ride. And to me, the biggest difference of this, what they got right now at quarterback, and really all the Jimmy days, he fucking makes plays. He scores touchdowns. So even in the first half, right? The score at halftime is 17-16. Well, think how many plays he made down the field. Obviously, he threw a touchdown. He threw several other passes that got them into field goal range. He makes explosive plays. And then in the second half, obviously he plays much better. He's 9 of 11, throws several touchdowns. Now, some like Debo took the majority of the way, but he was really good. And the pass to Mitchell for the touchdown was like, I'm sorry. I thought there was a point when the game was 31-17. So they score 23-17 and they get the ball fumble back and they drive again. I think if Jimmy Garoppolo version of that performance that far, it's probably 19-17. You're holding on for your ass because he does not generate points. So I can live with, and I think this is what Sean McDermott has learned as a defensive coach. What I bet back when Lamar was healthy, Harbaugh learned. Obviously, Andy just loves this mindset. Make shit happen. I can live with some mistakes. Favre, ask Holmgren and Andy and those guys that were around Favre, I can live with a pick. If you throw 4 touchdowns, this guy accounts for points, guy.
Hold on, let me get my list here. Mahomes, Favre. Any other superstar postseason quarterbacks you want to mention?
Listen, it feels weird because I almost tweeted this. And I was like, I don't want everyone talking shit like Kyle has found his Mahomes. And it sounds crazy or whatever. You throw up the stats. I do the math here right before we hop on. 33, 35, 21, Thursday night game. 37, 37, 38, 41. In his start / basically the game he started, played the whole thing, they have averaged 34.5 points. In math class, they would tell you to round up. That's 35 points a game. They are an explosive offense. Their defense is no longer just shutouts. When they play Minnesota or they play the Eagles, those teams could score 25 points, maybe 30. The Niners have a chance to win all these games because their offense, led by this quarterback, can generate points. We've always known Debo can do it. Kittle can do it. Obviously now Ayuk can do it. McCaffrey, no problem. McCaffrey, fastest run since 19. Even Maria was like, isn't that kind of crazy? I'm like, well, little skewed. He didn't play much for 2 years, right? It wasn't like
fastest run since 19.
Well, did you see that 60 whatever yard run was the
Yeah.
fastest he had ran,
Oh, okay.
on that thing since 2019? I'm like, well, if he had played 16, 17 games, I'd be like, that's something. But he played like a small amount of games for a couple year period. But regardless, you have unlimited amount of weapons. And this guy, even when it gets weird, and today got weird for a minute, can utilize them. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You're scoring points with this little cat.
So it sounds crazy, right? You said like that tweet you thought about tweeting he found his Mahomes. But when you go back to his press conference before the Trey Lance draft pick, he was talking about all the great quarterbacks and guys that can do all kinds of things. And I think what you and I have talked about a lot is what would really help Kyle, who was a really good play caller, is that sometimes a quarterback makes a play on the field that makes up for whatever play didn't work in the headset, right? And that's what Mahomes does for Andy. Now, Mahomes does it as an incredibly high level. Josh Allen does it at an incredibly high level. But if you just define it as that, a quarterback who makes plays when the original play isn't working, that is what he's repeatedly proven.
Favre, Roethlisberger. I mean, you can go through a lot of the great guys.
If you just gave the definition without naming guys, it wouldn't sound that crazy. Then you start naming the guys that do it. Well, they're the guys that start in the NFL for a long time because they help make their coaches better, right? They make their coaches better because the coach can't control everything from the sideline. And he had multiple scores like that. Two of his touchdown passes today were kind of get out of trouble, spin out, and then boom, just find Elijah Mitchell open, and then he runs it in. McCaffrey made a really nice catch. It was the Mitchell touchdown, the McCaffrey passing touchdown were kind of the same, right? Get out of trouble, find something, and then throw a laser to, turns out, probably one of the best running backs in the league who can also catch. He's got two of them. It's a great play. It's a touchdown. But you have to be able to see the field, and you have to physically be able to move out of trouble. And that's the thing with Jimmy does not – this is not about Jimmy necessarily, but you really, to me, when you compare the two of them, you see that. When the play breaks down, it felt like Jimmy's opportunity for a mistake went up. When the play breaks down with Brock, he's actually made a lot of plays pretty consistently.
Listen, you've been talking to offensive coordinators and offensive coaches for a decade. I've watched these press conferences, been around these guys. What gets their juices going, and they get excited when they say, listen, when this guy – I love how he keeps his eyes down the field.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of guys, when they scramble, they kind of look down – that in football terms to me is freaking out a little bit. Like I got to look down. I got to gauge where I'm at. Guys that can keep their eyes down the field. I mean, Russell Wilson became a Hall of Famer, right? By doing it forever. Scrambled around, eyes down the field. Deshaun Watson did it. And I'm not comparing Brock to this, but he has that attribute. And he's rattling off. If we just do a continuation, I know it ends the regular season, the playoffs, but he had 13-4. So now he's got 16-4 and another rushing touchdown. Like his stat and his ratio is stupid. I mean, his touchdown to pick ratio right now in his 7th start in 8th game or is it his 6th start and 7th game, whatever, is 16-4.
6th start, 8th game, 7th game.
No mathematician. That is a 4-to-1 ratio.
That's
correct?
Really good. Well, at the beginning of the year, you remember we went through some. And I'm not making a Trey point, but we went through like what would be a good season for a Trey, like what would be a good season for a rookie quarterback. And I'm guessing if we went back and watched that video, we probably said touchdowns like 19 or 21 or something like that.
I think you were lower than me just because in this league, I kept kind of skewing toward 25 plus, and you kind of thought that was a little bullish.
Yeah.
And I just think that
would have been bullish for Brock, might have been bullish for Trey.
Because part of my whole take was like, I don't draft a guy that high to not get, around 30 immediately.
Maybe we said 28, but
I don't think we did. I mean, I think you were hoping for 21 and I was hoping for like 26. And
yeah,
it turns out, I mean, this guy's on pace. This guy'd be on pace for well over 30. But part of it was, and my beef with the low number, I remember arguing was like, there's too many weapons on this team. And this was always the knock on Jimmy. It's like, yeah, is Debo Chris Carter in the red zone or Jerry Rice? Of course not. But if you can get him the ball, the 50 and in, he can make shit happen. Kittle is a red zone target. Ayuk's probably even better than we thought. I mean, he's fantastic. Juwan Jennings is a threat, and then Christian McCaffrey wasn't even on the team. You have all these red zone magnets, the guys that can make plays. You just got to get them the ball. Not everything has to be that crazy scramble to Ayuk, Patrick Mahomes, Brett Favre style. I mean, that was icing on the cake tonight. It was actually just a lot of keep play alive kind of, and then just do a little dump down. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, sneaky, do that a lot. That's part of their greatness. Like, you don't get to 40 touchdowns in a year. Not all of them are like 40-yard seeds, right? Some of them are just, was it last week? Was it the Raider game? Remember when Patrick Mahomes had the scramble and then like last second just did that? Like, if you can just do a couple of those, 4 or 5 throughout the season, and then on top, 20 of your just normal red zone passes, and then another 10 explosive plays, that's how you add up to a lot of plays. Jimmy didn't have the capability to me. His athleticism was clearly, how about the Hezzy run where he did like the Kenny Pickett, like, I'm going to stop. Just kidding.
The high step. I did not think he was getting a first down on that play. You know what my thought was that the guy chasing him is Cody Barton. That's as that play was happening, I was thinking the guy chasing him is Cody Barton. That's the guy that hurt Trey Lance. He made the play.
I mean, I was Cody Barton, a Utah guy. Yeah,
Cody Barton is a Utah guy.
Cody Barton, 4.64. So that's, he's not like elite 4.50 for a linebacker speed, but 4.64 is not slow. And Purdy was pretty comfortable with a guy that I listened to one of Pete Carroll's press conferences were like, not that they had a come to Jesus moment, but I think there was a moment in the season. He's like, yeah, Cody wasn't playing well. We have a lot of trust in the guy. He did a lot of self-reflection. And I guess the second half of the season, Pete was like, we were comfortable. Like he started killing it. We love this guy. Utah guy, it makes sense. Like Pete, those guys' mindset would be the same guy. But Brock's spatial awareness to a guy who's not some 4.8 40 guy, that was pretty impressive. And he slowed him down a little bit with the Hezzy.
Yeah. The other thing, first half, they had to use 2 timeouts because the play clock was low. First drive, they had to use a timeout. And then the last drive, they had to use it. The last drive before the half, they had to use a timeout. So their last timeout. And that was, that's okay. Rookie quarterback. And we were texting halftime, how's he handling the pressure? He definitely missed him. The first throw of the game was I don't know, wild. The throw to Jennings, actually the last drive of the half after he hits Ayuk, he airmails the throw to Jennings again. He had a miscommunication. I don't know what exactly was supposed to happen on the Ayuk throw into the end zone. He was yelling at Ayuk, Mac Jones style, like Ayuk did something wrong.
I think sometimes you just scream when you screw up.
Yeah. But then you could read his lips. He was like, that's on me. So I don't, but yeah, that's sometimes what rookies look like, I guess. But it didn't, to your point, like it's not what it felt like was happening. It didn't feel like he was playing like a rookie necessarily. It's funny. I had a buddy text me during the game who played in the league. He's like, I'm trying to figure out who Brock Purdy reminds me of. And kind of half kidding, I replied, Russell Wilson. Kind of kidding. He was like, well, Russell doesn't, Brock doesn't run like zone read shit like Russ did. I was like, I know. But in a way, again, it's not Russ. But to me, it's the best kind of bare minimum mobility. Like having a guy who can break off a 30-yard run is great. But bare minimum, you just want a guy that can operate in a short area, make some big guys miss. For all the run around he does, what did he take, 1 sack today?
Yeah.
No, he did have, like you said, the two plays in the red zone where he like rolls out. But he also makes plays. Like he makes more plays.
Part of his success, like you said, the bare minimum, he could not function if he was a bad athlete, right?
Yeah,
a huge part of his game is athleticism, keeping plays alive. And he is clearly much faster than I think these guys realize when they get kind of close and he kind of runs away. He is I think you're underselling him when you use the word bare minimum mobility. He probably has solid, like not,
No,
I would kind of put him like,
in a mobile.
Is there much difference of him and Mahomes' mobility? Mobility.
Yeah, you're saying like tight area mobility.
They kind of similar, kind of keep plays alive.
The difference between them would be like what Mahomes' arm can do when he's in that moment.
I'm just talking legs, not arms.
I'm not saying he's the bare minimum athlete. I'm saying what he does, like from an athletic quarterback, at the minimum, you want a guy who can move behind the line of scrimmage and make plays. But yes. I think he's above the bare minimum. Like I'd say Was Romo kind of the, again, bare minimum of an athletic guy behind the line of scrimmage?
Yeah.
Brock's better than that. His sneaks are not. He needs the push on the sneak from behind. He's not quite the sneaker that Jimmy was, but
and luckily they've changed that rule, and you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he won a playoff game. He won a playoff game without ever looking rattled.
I don't think he just won a playoff game. He accounted for 3 touchdowns in the passing game, and in the second half, when it really got nut cutting time, was slicing and dicing them. Right, 9 of 19. Well, he went 18 of 30. So I'm no math major, but that would be 9 of 11 in the second half, which would equal 18 and 30. So 9 of 11 in the second half, just throwing darts and hitting guys. There were a couple throws in that game, and to me, this is another big difference he has with Jimmy, is on the one, a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7, where he hits Debo coming across the middle, and Debo gets a lot of credit for a great catch. But he puts it in a spot where only Debo can make the catch, but it's not like too far where he has to dive and then it just would have hit the ground. It's not behind him where if he has to stop, he gets tackled. It is just his accuracy in big spots consistently is pretty freaking good. Like hitting guys in stride, specifically today with Debo on multiple routes on big 3rd and down. It's one thing, right, when they ran that play, which clearly they had schemed against Seattle's defense with Ayuk coming across the middle of the field a couple times. You get a little time, he can put it out there. He's fantastic on that play. But I'd say most quarterbacks worth their salt in the top 20, if they're not getting pressured, are going to hit that play. It's another thing when a guy's coming across on a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7, you put that in a spot to let that specific player, too, get room to keep moving. And obviously we'll get into him a little later, was fantastic. But Brock put 2 passes on 3rd and 5, and I think one was 3rd and 7.
Yeah, the 3rd and 7 was
ideal
Jonathan
spot.
Abram tried to tear Debo's leg at the end play.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, Jonathan Abram. Shit, same guy.
I thought you were kidding. I thought you were just symbolizing. I had kind of.
No, it was Jonathan Abram. That's who it was. I was like, perfect. Actually, that belongs. I think, this is the kind of team where
Pete and John Wood like that guy.
Oregon, I don't know if you remember, Oregon's Final Four run a few years ago, basketball team, that when Peyton Pritchard was a freshman point guard, true freshman point guard, and he helped lead them to the Final Four. And it turned out they had Jordan Bell, Tyler Dorsey, Dylan Mitchell, like they had all these pros. The job was just, hey man, like we're a Final Four team, Peyton. Just play defense, hit some open shots, and run the offense. And he was a really good dribbler. He was not like replacement level. He was a really good player. But I think that's part of the deal with this team, right? Is it's easier said than done. Oh, we got these great players, just get them the ball. Well, it's easier said than done. But this is what you saw today is what it looks like when you have a guy who can just do it. I'm going to dial you up 7 yards. Just take the 7 yards. Right? I mean, I don't know what a batting average on fastballs down the middle is. I'm sure it's really good, but it's not 1,000. Like most guys just can't hit the fastball down the middle 100% of the time. You just can't. Well, in football, you only get so many chances. You don't get 700 ABs over the course of a season or whatever the number is, 500. You like in a playoff game, I dial you up an open guy. We got to hit him. And Kyle did dial him up a lot of open guys.
Right from the jump.
And he hit most of them.
But I'd even say, like, Kyle trusts this guy more than any quarterback we've seen.
Yeah.
Their aggressive nature in the rain was pretty